All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. We're getting close to my date, February the 28th. February the 20th. I created this timeline years ago. It was a question I had in a group chat on Facebook, an enochian group chat, and I simply went in there. I joined the group, simply went in there, and I asked the question, when's the head of the year? Because I've been searching for that for 30 years. When's the head of the year? And somebody answered and said March 17th. And I was like, March 17th. So I built yet another timeline based on March 17th as being the head of the year. And when I did, everything fell into place. I had been searching for that date forever and ever. So after I built the timeline, knowing that when I first started trying to figure out the head of the year, now I figured out more, or somebody told me, but March 17th, I built the timeline and I see everything starting to fall into place like dominoes, just boom, boom, boom. It all fell into place. And I realized that I could figure out every date in the Bible now. They'll all fit in there. And should I find anything that doesn't fit, I'm going to have to throw this timeline away. If you went back years ago when I first started, I wasn't sure about the timeline as I am now. Back then, I built it and I was like, wait a second, this is this is the first time I've ever seen everything fit. I used to build timelines based on this is before YouTube, back in the 80s and 90s. Build timelines on listening to preachers on the radio and just waiting for them to say a date, and then I had this big piece of paper on the wall in my bedroom, and I drove for a living. I used to drive truck. I used to haul the U.S. mail, and as I drove safely, or when I'd pull over and stop because it was a time delivery, I had to make stops. I hear a date and I would write it down. Hear a date and I would write it down, and I would come home and put it on the timeline, and I realized that nobody really knew when anything was. Nobody really knew. So I built this whole timeline and then I tear it down. I said, that's not it. That's not it. I did that for years. And finally, after building this timeline, later, many years later, I find out that the Essene timeline is duplicate, or it's a mirror image of mine. I call it the Enochian timeline, but it turns out that March 17th being the head of the year, and everywhere I look, from Stellarium to any Bible verse whatsoever, March 17th is in fact the head of the year. And then, of course, like I said, later on, I find out that the Essenes are calling the Feast of Wine on Ob 3. And I was like, how in the world, how is theirs matching mine? I didn't mean to do it that way. That's just how it turned out. It turned out I built the timeline and then I found out about the Essene timeline, and it matches. It matches day for day. It matches perfectly to theirs. So I want to show you some math. Real simple though. This one's easy. It's not too intricate. And it will show us from the very beginning, from Adam, it will show us how many years there are from creation up until God destroys everything, the end of Satan's rule, his little season, which I thought was 22 years, but now I'm realizing it's 15 years, 14, 15 years. Depends on that 0 year. That thing messes everything up. But mathematically, that happens in the year 7056. I don't know what day it's on. I don't know if it'll happen in the spring feasts or in the fall feasts. I don't know. The only feast so far that I've seen that's not been fulfilled is trumpets. Everything else I find in the Bible easily. Everything I find easily. Jesus was started his ministry on the Day of Atonement. He was born on tabernacles. Everything's been fulfilled except for trumpets. It's the only one I can't see being fulfilled. So, with all that being said, and yeah, I built that other timeline, and then I said nobody knows when the Jubilee is. It's real simple. Jesus went to the cross in 30 AD. He had to have King Herod died in 4 BC. The exact amount of time Jesus was here was 33 and a half years. It's math. It's simple math. If you go from 4 BC to 30 AD, 33 and a half years, it fits exactly like it's supposed to. If people are running around going 32 AD, 33 AD, well, then he was born in 1 BC or 0, which doesn't make any sense since creation started in 4003. And the day for 1,000 years does apply if you apply it correctly. You've got to remember that when we're dealing with the 7,000 years, there are dispensational shifts. They happen in the middle of the thing. So Jesus was born exactly 4,000 years and 14 days after Adam was created. And exactly 2,000 years, exactly. We're coming up on the total of 6,000 years with a dispensational shift in the middle. That shifts us from the pre Jesus on the cross, goes from from Adam up to the flood, and then it goes through the law, through Abraham, and then it winds up in Jesus, where it turns into grace. It was always grace. You always had to believe in Jesus. Jesus is the only way to heaven. And when he went to Hades, he taught this, and those who believed on him rose with him on the morning he rose. So the 7,056 years, the extra 56 years, we have to account for. Well, 33 and a half of them were Jesus. That was a dispensational shift. The 6 months, God just randomly, instead of waiting until September, he says, this now is the head of your year. He did that on March 17th. It was no longer going to be Tishri 1. It was now going to be Nisan 1. But you just don't take 6 months out of the year. You still have to account for them. So 34 years. Then you have 7 years of cleanup, I found. I thought Satan had those 22 years, but he doesn't. He has 14, 15. And you have those 7 years of cleanup. There's 7 months in there of cleaning up the dead bodies. I don't know if it's part of the 7 years or if it happens first for 7 months and then 7 years. That might make up the little bit of difference that I'm seeing. And there's a little slight difference in the two. And then you have Satan's 15 years. It all adds up to 56. And it turns out, what I'm going to show you now, is that was told to us from the very beginning. God put dates and time spans in the Bible on purpose for us to be able to find them, for us to calculate them, for us to teach us to number our days. And like I said before, nobody knew when the Jubilee was. Nobody. I just trusted that everybody knew when the Jubilee year was. So I wound up sitting down and counting from 0 going forward, 49, 40. At first, of course, I had to prove that it wasn't 50 years and that it was 49. You still see people counting by 50s. That simply goes against what Leviticus teaches. The Jubilee is the first year of the Shemitah block. It's simple. It's not separated. It's not 49, then 50, and then 49, then 50. It is 49, and the first year of the 49th is the 50th year. It's still called the 50th year, but it is actually the first year of the next 49-year Shemitah block, which is why you count it by 49s. 7,056 is divisible by 49 by 144. We recognize that number. 144 Jubilees will mark the end of all these things. That's it. It's over. We are currently, as of March 17th, easily provable. We are coming up on a Jubilee. They only happen once every 49 years. The next one won't happen for another 49 years. It is the year of return. It's the year where whatever you had, slaves, everybody has to return back to the original owner. It could have been any Jubilee, but it couldn't, because there were two things the Bible said. One was a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is a day. The other was the Jubilee year, the year of return. At some point throughout the 7,056 years, there had to culminate a point where it matched. The Jubilees, the Jubilee from creation will continue on until the end. But the Jubilee from Adam's sin stops. It stops right now on March 17th. That is the last Jubilee from Adam's sin. It will stop at the end of the tribulation. That's where it ends. That Jubilee. I said many times there are two Jubilees running in tandem. There's one that started at creation and one that started when Adam sinned 7 years later. When you count from creation to the end, it's exactly 144 Jubilees. When you count from Adam's sin to the end of the tribulation, which is why there's a second Jubilee running, it runs 7 years past the date of the rapture. It runs until and many people and I think most academia believes that the end of this tribulation will happen in the fall. It will happen sometime in September, whether it be trumpets, the one feast that's not been fulfilled yet, or atonement or tabernacles. I don't know which one it'll be. My money is leaning towards trumpets. My money is leaning towards trumpets, starting it and ending it. Where does that put us? Does that mean we have to wait till September the 15th, Tishri 1? No, we're the bride. The bride is going to be taken away before she travails, before her pain came. That is now, anytime. Since Jesus was conceived on December the 25th and born on Tabernacles exactly 280 days later, perfect 40 weeks. Since that time, I believe that the bride has galvanized. We have began to understand things that we'd never seen before, that when we see it, we're like, it was right there. How come we didn't see this before? Daniel's sealed book. A lot of us are now beginning to see things that we never saw before. We're beginning to understand things that we couldn't understand before. And many wonderful channels. I can't speak highly enough about all of these channels that are working so hard to try to figure this out in their own way. David the Watchman just had a video today. In his own way, doing his math, he has come to a similar conclusion as myself. Now, Purim is on February the 28th. That's Purim. That is 30 days before the cross. The cross is March 30th. There is no wiggle room on that. That's when it is. But what I find interesting is that this blood moon that everybody's hyped up about, that they're all calling Purim, well, guess what? That's the day Jesus rises, 84 hours later. So it matches exactly 30 days out, exactly 30 days out from the Purim of the Essene. I'll call it the Essene, only because it turns out that it matches mine exactly. That's why I've been calling mine the Enochian timeline forever. It's literally every date that I found in the Bible. So it's a biblical timeline, in my opinion. But from what I can see, that 30 days out, exactly, we know that that's true. You can Google it. 30 days from Purim has to be Passover. Passover must fall 30 days later. Well, if Purim falls on February the 28th, Passover falls on March the 30th. Exactly 30 days. March 30th, 30. Now they're saying it's March 31st. Well, that's 31 days, so that's not accurate. It's March 30th. They're saying that Purim is on the 3rd of March. It's not. It's not 30 days from the 3rd of March up to the Passover. It's not 30 days when you do their math. As a matter of fact, if you go into Stellarium, you'll see that the sun's not even going to show itself until I think it's March 2nd or 3rd. So how could that possibly be the day? You see what I'm saying? Or April 2nd or 3rd, I think it is. I have to go back and look. But my point is that they don't care about times. They care about tradition. They care about, you don't have to question them because that's who they are. And that's what we do. We just follow what they say. And for the most part, many do. But ironically, that in the year 2026, right now, and again in 2029, the spring feast will match mine. As a matter of fact, in 2029, it matches it day for day. They call Passover on March 30th in 2029. I find that very interesting. So the tribulation, I believe, will begin on the Feast of Trumpets. I think that will be trumpets. I think that a tribulation will begin on probably Passover. I would think probably Passover. Not exactly sure. perhaps a triumphant entry. Maybe it'll begin on March 17th, on the first day of the year, Nissan 1. I don't know. So I made this rudimentary timeline, simple to understand. It's not really a timeline. It's just I'm showing you exactly what transpired on specific dates. I want you to keep in mind, John is 6 months older than Jesus by design. He leapt in the womb on New Year's Day when Mary went to visit Elizabeth. He leapt in the womb. He was 6 months in the womb, and Jesus, was in the womb for a week. The egg attaches to the uterine wall after 1 week. Then 3 months later, John was born. When was John born? He was born on the day of the cross. That's when he was born. He began his ministry 5 days before his birthday on the triumphant entry. He lived 33 and a half years. He died on Jesus' birthday, on Tabernacles. He was arrested 5 days before he died on the Day of Atonement, the day Jesus began his ministry. And I'll show you all this in these pictures right now. Let's share. Share. There we go. And for some reason, that thing didn't go away. All right. The first, I want to show you where everybody's messing up. This entire story here in Luke 3, this entire story, and this was in my Discord in a room called Change My Mind. In my Discord, there are rooms for you to go in and prove your point, and nobody, they can discuss it with you, but nobody can become angry in those kinds of rooms. And in this room, the conversation was my timeline was wrong because in 29 AD, Jesus began his ministry. And I'll tell you what, it probably took me a month to figure this out because I was like, now, wait a second. Everything in the Bible matches the timeline except for this one passage. This one passage has messed me up. And I've thrown so many timelines away that I was trying to figure this out, praying, Lord, this is the only one. This is the only passage that goes against Jesus beginning his ministry in 26 and a half AD. I knew Adam was 26 and a half when he was created. I knew Adam was in the garden for 7 years, and he was removed from the garden when he was 33 and a half. All these numbers have meaning. There's reasons for that. It's because Jesus began his ministry in the year 26 and a half. Jesus was 33 and a half, exactly to the day when he died on the cross. Exactly to the day. So, when you read this, now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea, Herod being tetrarch of Galilee, when you read this, he began his reign in 14 AD. This is the 15th year of his reign, which makes it 29 AD. And I read the story and I read the story. I kept going and going and going. And finally, I realized this story is not talking about baptizing Jesus. This story is talking about a word of the Lord came to John the Baptist out in the wilderness to go tell Herod that what he is doing with his brother's wife is against God. And he and many other things did his exhortation preached unto he the people, but Herod the tetrarch being reproved by him. John the Baptist went right up to him and told him, why did he do that? That's what God told him to do. God did not tell him to go baptize Jesus. This is the year 29 AD. We know that because Tiberius Caesar began his reign in 14 AD, and this is the 15th year of it. It's 29 AD. What happened in 29 AD? But Herod the tetrarch being reproved by him, Herodias, his brother's wife, and for all the evils which Herod had done, added yet this above all, and he shut up John in prison. John was shut up in prison in 29 AD. That's what this story is. Now the Bible skips back. It skips back to 26 and a half AD. It is September the It's August the 15th. Sorry about it. It's August the 15th. Now John the Baptist, now when all the people were baptized, it came to pass that Jesus also being baptized and praying, the heaven was open. This is where John the Baptist began to get notoriety. He had been baptizing. People knew of John the Baptist, but they weren't sure what was going on. They were asking him, "Are you Elias?" Jesus kind of indicates that he came in the spirit of Elias. But he's out there baptized. But this is where he really gained notoriety in 26 AD. For the next 3 years, remember, he had been baptizing for 6 months. He was 6 months older than Jesus. He started everything 6 months before Jesus. He had already been baptizing 6 months prior to Jesus showing up. He had begun to baptize on March 30th or March 26th, which is Nisan 10, the triumphant entry, 5 days before his birthday. On his birthday, he is baptizing people, but people are like, I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know what this is. But here we are. The story goes back. It is not now talking about 29 AD. This has nothing to do with the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. What John did in this year in 29 AD was to tell King Herod he was wicked for what he was doing. And what happened? He was shut up in prison. What day is this? This is the day of atonement. When did he die? When did the party happen? Well, I believe it was King Herod's birthday. I think it was somebody's birthday celebration. I think it was King Herod. And the daughter of his brother's wife wanted John the Baptist's head served on a silver platter. John the Baptist died in 29 AD. He did not die and then baptize Jesus. The story, the Bible is written in a fashion to where you have to investigate to understand what you're reading. John the Baptist baptized Jesus on August the 15th, L01 in 26 AD. So I put this together real quick to show you this. Adam was not created as an embryo. He was created as a full-grown man. How old was Adam? Well, he was removed from the garden when he was 33 and a half. It took him 7 years of Satan's planning to realize that all he needed to do was tempt Eve, not Adam. He tempted Eve into biting that apple, and Adam bit the apple. There's a lot of discussion on why he did it. Was it so that he could stay with his wife that he loved? Nobody really knows why he bit the apple after she did, but he did. So he was created with age. He was 26 and a half. Eve also was created with age, although there's no discussion in the Bible as to how old she was when she died. But as it goes, a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. And in the day you eat of this fruit, you shall surely die. They all had to die before they were 1,000 years old. All of them had to die before they were 1,000 years old, because a day is as 1,000 years. That's why they all died. Adam was created with age, but he died at the age of 930, meaning 930 years from creation. But if you add Adam's the age he was created, it's 956. That's his actual age of death. Yeah, he was there for 930 years, but he was 26 and a half when he was created. He was 956. How do I prove any of this stuff? Symmetry. It's simple symmetry. If it fits, you have to keep it. 956, the flood happened in 1656. That is 700 years after Adam, his age, not his death, his age, how old Adam was when he died. Adam was technically 956 and a half years old when he died. The flood did happen in 1656. That's 700-year difference from after Adam. It is 7,000 biblical years plus the 56. There's an extra 56 here. 56 dispensational shifts. 7,056 total years from the very beginning to the very end. There's subtleness in here in these numbers that make us realize exactly how long this will go. A day is 1,000 years, 1,000 years a day. This is true. It was 4,000 years to Jesus' birth, and it was 2,000 years after Jesus went to the cross. That is the 6,000 years. It is not straight through. People are people are changing creation to fit the cross. It just doesn't work. You're taking out the dispensational shift. So dispensational shifts happen 7,056 total years to the end. That is exactly 144 jubilees of 49 years. A jubilee is not 50. You can't take 50 and put it into 7,000 and say it doesn't fit like that. They work together, but they're not the same. Jesus operated on a day for 1,000 years. That's why he came at 4,000 years. That's why 2,000 years after, we read, after 2 days, he will revive us. And on the third day, he will raise us up. This is Jesus' promise to the Jews that a third of them will recognize who he is after 2,000 years. That is coming up here in 3.5 years. And then on the third day in 2033, he will raise them up to live in the millennium. That verse is not speaking to the bride. It's not speaking to the rapture. Jesus was 33.5 years old from birth to the cross. It is a half a year for Exodus 12. It moved 200, 182 days. We have 7 years of cleanup, and then we have 15 years left over, Satan's little season, for a total of 56 years. It is 7,056 years. The extra 56 years, people are like, no, you have to stay within the 7. We know that's not true because Jesus has 1,000 years to rule and reign, and then Satan has a little season. That actually takes us over. So it's okay to take us over there, but it's not okay to count the life of Jesus as a dispensational shift. You see what I'm saying? This constitutes the 56 years right here. That's why it's 7,056. And in 7,057, this is the 49 year. The 56 years, 7,056 is divisible by 49. It's 144, but the 7,057th year will be when God makes a new heaven and a new earth. All right. Whoops, went too far on that. Okay. John the Baptist was born 6 months before Jesus. Jesus was born 6 months after John the Baptist. John the Baptist was born on March 30th in 4 BC. This is the day of the cross. I think he began his ministry 5 days earlier, honestly, on the triumphant entry day, because Jesus began his ministry 5 days before his birthday on the Revelation. What is it? On the Day of Atonement, right here on the Day of Atonement. Everything about John the Baptist matches Jesus. He is the one that came to call about his job was not done. His job was not done after he baptized Jesus. That's where it began. 6 months after he began baptizing, he baptizes Jesus on the Day of Atonement. So we have this match here. March 30th, Jesus is born on September the 30th, which is Tishri 15 in 4 BC. He's born. It's 3 BC, but because of the 0 year, it's constantly confusing. So I'm just going to put 4 BC so that everybody can understand. If you're doing quick math, you'll notice that it would be a year off if I called this 3 BC. Some of you won't do any math. Some of you will quickly notice that, and that's fine. Either way, it doesn't matter. This is not going to save you, but I think it's really cool that we see this. February, if you were to match up, see, Jesus was baptized by John on August the 15th. 40 days later, he went out into the wilderness, out into the desert. He fasted, and he was tempted of the devil. I believe I read a verse in the Bible that says he was actually tempted of the devil throughout those 40 days. We read about, was it 3 temptations? But I believe it was ongoing. Satan was really trying to say, you don't have to go through all of this. I can just give it to you if you'll just kneel down to me. He didn't know exactly who he was dealing with or what exactly Jesus was doing here. All he knew is that God Almighty was standing before him in the flesh, capable of sin, but not sinning. Jesus never sinned, but he was capable of it. He was in the flesh, and the flesh is sinful. And so Satan knew this, and he was trying to get Jesus to cheat. Basically, I can give this all to you. You don't have to do all this stuff. I'll just give it to you if you'll just kneel down to me. And he wouldn't, of course. Jesus was baptized by John on August the 15th, a little one. 40 days later is September the 24th, Tishri 10, 5 days before his birthday, in 26 AD, 40 days after Jesus, after the desert, Jesus begins his ministry. On March 26th, 26 AD, John begins to baptize people. He has not baptized Jesus yet. He doesn't do that until September. But on March 26th, I believe, is when he began, 5 days before his birthday, because his birthday is on March 30th. I believe he began to baptize as well. Now, on 9/25, Tishri 10, 29 AD, the Day of Atonement, the Revelation 12 sign, John is arrested. I just showed you that. This is where he was arrested in 29 AD. He baptized Jesus back here in 26 AD. He was arrested and he was beheaded, I believe. Well, yeah, on September the 30th, Tishri 15th, Tabernacles, I believe John is beheaded. I think the symmetry of it is absolutely perfect. This is 29 AD. The year switches over on March 17th, 14 days after the year switches over on Nisan 14, March 30th. In 30 AD, Jesus goes to the cross when he is exactly 33 and a half. John the Baptist has his head taken off on 9/30 in 29 AD, September 30th, 29 AD, when he is exactly 33 and a half. Exactly to the day, 33 and a half. On March 26th, Jesus makes his triumphant entry. This is the triumphant entry. The triumphant entry matches perfectly to John the Baptist beginning baptizing 5 days before his birthday. Or did I do that wrong? Up here. Sorry about that. That's a wrong line. Now, on March 26th, the triumphant entry date, not the date of it, but the triumphant entry, it will be exactly 2,000 years after this event took place. This event took place in 26 AD. This is 2,000 years. A day is like 1,000 years. 1,000 years is like a day. This is when it happened. Everybody's looking at the cross, but it didn't begin there. It began at the beginning. It began right here at the triumphant entry on March 26th. This is when John the Baptist baptized his first person 2,000 years ago. September the 24th, Tishri 10, 2026, known as the Day of Atonement, the Revelation 12 sign, Jesus starting his ministry. This is exactly 2,000 years after. This is why we keep seeing this extra 6 months. 7 years of tribulation, but we keep seeing this extra 6 months. It keeps showing up. Never thought about, I don't know. I think I spoke to Spinebreaker, of course, and I always talk with Brett from God's Down Under because we have a like mind when it comes to these numbers, and he helps me through some things. And sometimes I say something, he's like, "Nope, this is it." But together, we actually work really well together. Anybody I work with, well, it doesn't matter. These guys are all fantastic people. They're all they're all dreaming of this day. Some of them are bridezillas, no doubt. I've seen some channels that are bridezillas, but they're still waiting. Just because you're a bridezilla doesn't mean you're not going to get married unless the guy just realizes he can't put up with that forever. But typically, people, when they're stressed and nervous and in anticipation of something, some people get very excitable. I think most of us kind of do. Some of us deal with it in various ways. So now, when I do this, this is what I see. John the Baptist is born on the date of the cross on March 30th and 4 BC. When you come down here, I put the line too far. It's actually right here. When you come down here, exactly, 33 and a half years later, on March 30th, Nissan 14, or is that 30 years? What is that, 33 years? 31 years. Oh, 31 years because John the Baptist is 6 months older. Yeah, 31 years. It gives us this, it kind of reminded me, I didn't realize this when I put it down. I said, wait a minute, it's like across the United States right there, you know? Uh, again, Jesus is born on September 30th in 4 BC, and on September 30th in 29 AD is when John the Baptist is beheaded. John the Baptist is born here in 4 BC. Jesus goes to the cross in 30 AD. So everything right now. So here's the thing. You can do it by the Jubilee. I have. The Jubilee begins on March 17th. I made a mistake last year. I realized it was the 49th year. I called it the Jubilee, but the Jubilee actually begins in the first year of the next 49 years, Shemitah block. And so I had made a mistake. And then I realized it's not even 2026 right now, it's 2025. But the Bible I've seen takes into account. I've seen a lot of great channels saying, no, 2026 matches this, this, and this. And then I've seen other people going, well, 2025 was perfect match. They realize it's still 2025. It doesn't matter. It's all going to match up anyway. It appears to that it will all match up anyway in the end. So I thought that, look, what the takeaway here is, we are now coming into the 2,000 years from when John the Baptist began. This is when he began, actually 5 days prior to this. I have it down here somewhere, March 26th. March 26th and is when he began baptizing. That's when he was born. This is when he began baptizing, March 26th in 26 AD. This is 2026. This is exactly 2,000 years. March 26th, that's exactly 30 days, well, 28 days because February has only 28 days in it, but it's 28 days from now. So that's very interesting. It also kind of shows us that something's going to happen 6 months prior to the two trumpets, which begins on September the 15th, or Tishri 1. All right, let me go back here to look at this. Let me go a little. I want to show you this. Sister Sandy made me this. It literally takes a hot minute to grasp what you're looking at. But what she did was combine. Remember, I've said so many times that the first 6 months of the year overlays exactly to the last 6 months of the year. And well, she did this, and I'm sitting here going, but it's easy. Nisan 1 is Tishri 1. March 17th is September the 15th. That's where we get confused because we're looking at the Gregorian. But this will match day for day because there are actually 364 days in a year. And if you go all the way through, it doesn't matter. Nisan 12 is Tishri 12. Iyar 10 is Heshvan 10. A lot of these have amazing connections. The triumphant entry. Miriam dies. That's the brother of Moses and Aaron. Miriam, she dies on this day, Nisan 10. God makes sure we know what day she dies for some reason. That's March 26th, the triumphant entry. Look down here. Jesus ends his 40-day fast on Yom Kippur, and that's where he begins his ministry. He begins his ministry 5 days before his birthday. Jesus was born on Tabernacles on September the 30th, Tishri 15. Ironically, that's the same exact day the Jews leave Egypt, on Nisan 15, which happens to be March 31st. It's amazing. You come over here, this is the cross. This is the cross, and it matches up with Tishri 14. But remember, Jesus goes to the cross at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He gives up the ghost and begins the count over here on March the 31st. He's in the grave for 1, 2, 3 days, 3 nights, and the women go down and find the tomb empty. We know it's before sunrise. It's not after sunset. It is before sunrise. It is a Sunday. Jesus rose on the first day, the Bible tells us. It's a Sunday. All of these things, the Yom Kippur, when Jesus began his ministry, is on a Sabbath. That's your Sabbath day. If you ever sat down and say, I want to know the Sabbath. Well, there they are. They are all right here. October 2nd is a Sabbath. October 9th is a Sabbath. All of these are Sabbaths. All of these. Enoch was born on a Sabbath. Moses was given the law on a Sabbath on June 11th. Sivan 27. Jesus was conceived on a Sabbath. John leapt in the womb on a Sabbath. December the 25th is a Sabbath. That's the day Jesus was conceived. John leapt in the womb a week later when it doesn't tell us that, but mathematically, when I figured up the distance that she would have to go by herself, she's newly pregnant, so she's not in any kind of, any kind of way that would slow her down in any kind of way. But January 1st, when John leapt in the womb, it was symmetrical. It fits perfectly. All of those are Sabbaths, all the way down. Tu B'Av is on a Sabbath. Festival of Trees is on a Sabbath. The day the dove does not return is on a Sabbath. Go all the way down. So I thought that was very interesting that she put that together. It takes me a while looking at it like this, but within the red blocks here is it's the overlap. Tammuz 1 is Tevet 1. This is the best match that I can do. Gregorian. It's not Gregorian's not perfect because Gregorian's 365. They would have done us a huge favor if they would have simply called one day 2 days. If they would have just had 2 Wednesdays or 2 Saturdays or something, they would have kept the day of the week accurate this entire time, but they didn't. So the fourth day of creation, God created time. Elul 31, Adar 31. That's the day Lazarus dies, 6 months out, exactly 6 months. There's so much cool stuff here. Second day of creation, messenger sent to Jesus. This is where Lazarus got sick here on the first day of creation, 6 months out, but Lazarus got sick. The messengers were sent to Jesus. It takes him 2 days to get to Jesus. Jesus admits he's dead. Jesus sits still for 2 days. Why? It is, let's go up here. It is Rosh Hashanah. He sits still for 2 days. He sits still for the 17th, the 18th, Nisan 1, Nisan 2. On this day, he's walking back to Lazarus. He's been dead in the tomb for 3 days. Mary and Martha would have had to perform a ceremony 3 days after touching a dead body. Well, they buried Lazarus back on the 16th. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, there is no date that I can find in the Bible that goes against this. It fits perfectly. This is the Essene timeline. This is it right here. All right. Now let me go here, I think. Yes. Let me get rid of that bottom and zoom in here as close as I can to show you where we are right now. So this is getting exciting. We're getting close to the end. February 14th. Now I showed you that Adar 1, February 14th was symmetrical. This is 40 days before John the Baptist began baptizing, which was 5 days before his birthday. This is 40 days before the triumphant entry. 40 days after this date here is the triumphant entry. This is Valentine's Day. 40 days later is the triumphant entry on March 26th. Perfect. We're coming up now on Purim. This is a very high watch day for me. This was a high watch day where Moses died. This is a high watch day, Purim. Very important day. 3 days. This is now 6 months out. 30 days from Purim, like it says. It says it in the Bible. It says in the Bible, it talks about the 13th when the Jews were supposed to be killed, the 14th when the Jews retaliated and won that little battle that they had, and the 15th, and also when I think when the guy was hung, right? And then on the 15th, they celebrated. Adar 15th matches to what? 30 days out. Exactly 30 days. It matches to Nisan 14. Why doesn't it match to Nisan 15? Because there's 31 days in Adar. That's why. So this is 40 days before John the Baptist baptizes his first person at the triumphant entry on Nisan 10, which is March 26th, We are already now coming up on Purim. That's 14 days of those 40 days. Are we waiting for these 40 days? Are we going to triumphant entry into heaven on the triumphant entry of March the 26th? I don't know. It'd be very interesting. This is all very exciting. The dead must rise first. I thought maybe it was Moses that had to rise first, but maybe Moses dying here, but maybe he rises down here where Lazarus dies on this day, but Lazarus rises here on March 20th, Nisan 4. He is dead for 4 days. Jesus raises him. Here's where Jesus is walking. Mary and Martha perform that ceremony. I believe it's, is it Mary or is it Martha? I can't recall which one. Runs out to see Jesus and then goes back, I believe goes back and gets Mary. And then Lazarus is called out of the tomb on this day. Is this the day that we go? I don't know. The triumphant entry will be March 26th. This is March 20th. I guess we shall see. All right. Again, the 2,000 years has just begun. It has begun with John the Baptist. John the Baptist came 6 months before Jesus to herald in that Jesus was on his way. What are we looking at? We're looking at Jesus is on his way. When? When he sets his foot back down on the Mount of Olives, 7.5 years from now. But the bride, I believe, will be taken out of here now, like very soon now. Now, again, the Jubilee is the year of the law of return. So the Jubilee, the rapture before the first seal, the outside date that I have is March 17th in 2026. Arrows because it's actually 2025, but I don't want to confuse everybody. The year is 6,028. 6,027 is divisible by 49. It's 123 Jubilees from creation. You see now how the Jubilees wind up working together right here. Jubilees from creation. Now, the problem is the Jubilee started in September, but we have this 6 months dispensational shift from when the rapture occurs to a new dispensation of tribulation. There's going to be a mixture in here of people coming to Christ, whether they're Jew or Gentile, they will come to Christ during this period of time. They will be gathered. The angels will gather. The angels aren't picking us up. We're poof in an instant. We're caught up and taken up there to be with Jesus in the clouds. We are not gathered up by angels. I am not sitting here waiting on an angel to pick me up. Angels might be around you all the time, watching over you and guiding you and whispering in your ear things that you need to pay attention to, but they will not whisk you away. You are going to be raptured in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, so fast, not even an angel can do that. Only Jesus, only God Almighty could do that. Then, I believe, at the end of 6 months, now this is just me, but I believe at the end of 6 months is where the 7 years, Jacob's 70th week, Daniel's 70th? Jacob's trouble, Daniel's 70th week, the 7 years, trumpets and bowls, I believe, begin here. But I do see 14 years. The math points to that, and I think there's a dispensational shift before the millennium, and I think there's 7 years worth of cleanup. I don't think Jesus is going to use 7 years of his 1,000-year millennium to clean the mess up that is going to be here. Blood and bodies everywhere. They're going to spend 7 months cleaning up bodies, and they're going to spend 7 years cleaning up, changing all the weapons into farming tools. Now, if I add those 7 months in here, we literally would make it to second Passover. If I add the 7 months on top of these, we would make it to second Passover on what's that second Passover? Let me look real quick so I don't speak out of turn. Second Passover is 30 days after the cross. Let's see, where is it at? Do I even have it on this one? I might not even have it on this timeline. Let me look at the other timeline. Hold on. Not that one, not that one, not that one. The original one from way back. All right. The second Passover is Ayar 15, which is April 30th, which is May Day. May Day. So that seems to me, if we add the 7 months in there, it would actually start this. And we have wiggle room. I don't mind taking time away from Satan. I have 14 years here, but the math actually is 15 years. But if I take those 7 months away, it's back to 14 years for Satan's little season. But it must end in a Jubilee year. And there's a dispensation. I have 7 years here, but if you take away 7 months from this, you'll have 5 months left for a dispensational shift. At the end of this, at the end of 7,056, this is divisible by 49. This is 144 Jubilees. It is the year 3054 AD. This is 144 Jubilees. We have a dispensational shift. God will destroy this planet. I'm not sure why we would leave the planet here for a year. I'm more inclined to say Satan has 14 years and that we have 5 months for God to absolutely destroy the planet and then put a new earth and a new heaven. And I have a feeling that while the earth is going to be phenomenal, I believe that mankind at that point will have children without pain of any sort, and we will populate the entire universe for all eternity. And Earth will be put into the habitable zone around every star in the universe everywhere. We can grow and grow and grow for all eternity. All eternity. So when you watch movies about other planets and you think, well, that would be cool, that actually might be a reality on another planet at another time. All right. So, Sister Sandy, if you want to see any of these, this is her website. She has all of our stuff on there. David the Watch, many others, many others. She's contacted many. I don't even know how many. I haven't even been on this website for a minute, but because I get all my stuff firsthand from Sister Sandy, she sends it to me. But on here is where you can find any of these timelines, and you can look at them yourself. All right, let me go on to the next screen. We all know this. I've said this. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man child. Who hath heard such things? This is Isaiah 66:7. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? We have to go a full term, 9 months. We can't be raptured, right, until September 30th, because that's exactly 2,000 years after Jesus began his ministry in 26 AD, September 25th, which matches the triumphant entry. But that is the Day of Atonement. That's the Revelation 12 sign. But wait a second. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Before she travailed. We're going to be raptured before. We're going to go 6 months before. We're going to be in the womb 3 months. And I believe that began on Christmas Day. 3 months later, exactly, is the Day of Atonement. December 25th, January, February, March 25th, March 26th is the triumphant entry. Is that when we go? I don't know. Does it have to wait until the Jubilee begins on March 17th? I don't know. I don't know. I know that the restrainers are straining. We're seeing earthquakes pop off, and we're like, oh, this could get bad. But then it doesn't. And we're seeing all these wars. We're like, oh, it's going to just take one wrong move. But then it doesn't. Something keeps holding it back. You're watching this restrain right now. That should make you happy, not sad, because that means we are that close that all of this is being restrained. This is where I showed you before. We have 7 years of cleanup, but then down here we have, where's it at? 7 months. During this time, Israel will burn weapons for 7 years and bury the dead for 7 months. See, I don't know if those 7 months are a part of it. Like I said, I don't mind taking 7 months away from Satan and bury all these dead, because it's Satan. I mean, we did this. Satan can't kill anyone. but he convinces us that we should. And this is all Satan right here. Ultimately, yeah, we did this, but ultimately Satan is to blame and he is going to pay. There is no redemption for a single angel that fell. There is no redemption for Satan. There's a nice little story that we read in the book of Enoch where they came to Enoch and said, "Hey, Enoch, look, we kind of messed up, but we don't want to keep messing up. We want to get back on God's good side. This whole salvation thing that we're seeing unfold, can we be a part of that?" And Enoch went and asked and came back and said, "No, no, you're doomed. You, no matter, there is nothing you can do to not be doomed. You are going to the lake of fire." And just, that had to be the worst news ever. The worst news for them, but the best news for us, because only the blood that God created in Adam and Eve coming all the way down to us, Noah and the eight on the ark coming all the way down to us, can be redeemed. We are all created in the image of God. You were created in the image of God. I don't care what you look like in the mirror. I don't care how broken you are. I don't care how defective that body you have is. None of that matters. Trust me, I've got some defects going on here. I can hardly wait for my new body. But that's not what that was all about. I'm creating the image of God. Why do I have these problems? We're dealing with sin. We're living in a sinful world. God didn't create this for us. We did. We asked for this. We got it. You asked for it. You got it, Toyota. This is exactly what we wanted. And nobody can look at Adam and say, "Man, look what you did to us." No, look at your own, look in the mirror, look in your own life. No, there's no way you can blame that guy. No way. You did this. And if you go to the lake of fire, predestinationalist, looking for somebody to blame other than yourself, well, I guess God didn't choose me. No, you ain't going to blame God for that. He's not going to be going, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't choose you. So, yeah, it is kind of my fault." You're going to like, no, he offered you a cup. It was that simple. He offered you a cup. And in that cup is salvation. You had a choice. You had a choice. Everybody's like, "You don't have a choice. God saves who he will." That's what it says because he's looking at it from a different perspective than what we can. His ways are so much higher than our ways. We can't possibly conceive of the mind of God. He already, this whole thing played out for him 6,000 years ago. This whole thing played out for him before he ever started it. He already knew. He already knew all this stuff. So, no, we ain't going to blame God. You go into the lake of fire, that's on you. This verse, I've showed it many times, but yet people keep using it, and that's fine. I'm not upset. Hosea 6:2. After 2 days, he will revive us. After 2 days of what? After the cross. This is not talking about the baptism, what we're looking at. This is not even talking about John the Baptist and when he started on March 26th, the triumphant entry, when he started baptizing. That's not it. 5 days before his birthday, he's going to mimic or be exact to Jesus perfectly. Everything will be 6 months before Jesus. Everything. So 6 months after he started baptizing, he baptized Jesus in 26 AD, not 29. 29 is when he lost his head, served on a silver platter. After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up. This is a verse speaking to the Jews. The 2,000 years is after the cross where they crucified him. They didn't know who he was. They didn't believe who he said he was. And they crucified the Son of God. Let that sink in. They crucified God Almighty on a cross, and yet he still loved them. He still loves them. But only 1/3 of them, only 1/3 of the Jews will recognize when they get revived. He'll pour his spirit out on all of them, but only 1/3 of them are going to recognize who Jesus was. And they will look up and cry for the one that they pierced. They will do this after 2 days. Jesus went to the cross in 30 AD. In 2030, on March 30th, they will look up and cry at the one that they pierced. Halfway through the tribulation, trumpets and bowls begins in September. But seals, I believe, begins now, very, very soon now. And then on the third day in 2033, sometime in September, his birthday, the day he began his ministry and atonement, or trumpets. It could be trumpets. On that third day, will raise up these Jews from out of the graves, the ones that would believe. Remember, they're dead, but God sees them as sleeping. They're in Hades right now, and they're talking amongst each other. And some of them are going to believe on this, and some of them won't. There's going to be stories told down there that Jesus came here, and many of the people that were down here with us went up there with him. And they're asking, can I have some of that? The ones that denied him 4,000 years ago, they're not going anywhere. They're still there. Their chance was over with. They saw Jesus and they denied him. The same thing is going to happen here very shortly. They're going to see Jesus in the clouds. They're going to see this rapture. They were down there. What did they see? They saw a rapture. They saw Jesus down there. Jesus brought his own witness with him, the thief on the cross. See, he's down there in Hades and leading captivity captive. And what did they see? They saw a rapture of sorts. They saw a bunch of people that were down there leave. They left with Jesus, those that would believe. The rest of them are still there. They had their one chance. They will not be resurrected to witness the rapture and to be able to, with their own eyes, see the rapture, see Jesus in the clouds, just like they saw him in Hades. Nothing's changing. Everything's the same. It's appointed a man but once to die. Stop with that. Moses is going to die twice. Okay? The once to die is the lake of fire. That's it. You go there, you're done. Those first 4,000 years, those people that did not choose Jesus when they saw him, when Jesus showed up with his witness, that saw a rapture of sorts of all those people that were down there disappear with him, they stay. They're not going to be resurrected. There is no 6,000 years of history of those people being resurrected. No, just the last 2,000 years. Everybody gets the same exact opportunity that they got back there in Hades when Jesus went there to leave captivity captive. They rise up out of the graves. A lot more than just the bride is going to rise. They're going to rise up and they're going to look up and they're going to see a rapture, just like they saw 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years, 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years worth of people in Hades saw a rapture and they missed it. But that was their only chance. You only have one chance to see Jesus in the clouds and deny him. The same thing is about to happen. They're going to look up and see Jesus and either accept him or deny him. They're going to look up and accept him and be raptured. Or they are going to drop to their knees and pray, and they'll be a tribulation saint. We have a story in the Bible that Moses died in his full strength. It was very important for us to know that, because when Moses comes back, he won't be plagued with disabilities of any sort, because he died in his full strength. He will be revived in his full strength. For 3.5 years, 1,260 days, Moses will be one of the two witnesses. He will die again and lie in the street for 84 hours, 3.5 days. So when does Moses die? After 2 days. And on the third day, they will raise up the Jews. This verse is talking to the Jews. It is not talking to the bride. As much as we try to apply this to us, the 2,000 years is coming up here in a few days. The 2,000 years from when John the Baptist baptized his first person is beginning at the triumphant entry. Everything begins now. And over the course of the next 3.5 years, everything that was done will be done again here in the next 3.5 years, up to the mid-trib. And then the really bad stuff starts happening. Oh, this is where I said 7 months. 7 months down here. You find that in Ezekiel 39 if you wanted to study that. Ezekiel 39:9. You can read about the 7 years and the 7 months. I am curious if that 7 months is a part of the 7 years. All right. I've showed you this several times. Where are we at right now? We are now on February the 26th. Purim is here. This is 30 days from the cross. The blood moon is here. This is 30 days from the day Jesus rises from the grave. On this date, on March 30th, they crucified Jesus. By April the 3rd, 84 hours later, Sunday, by April the 3rd, they realized they messed up big time. Everybody that was calling for his death, boy, did they mess up. They messed up bad. I just showed you all the math. That does add up to 6,027, 6,028. That's where we're at now. 27 is divisible by 49. That's where we're at right now. On March 17th begins the Jubilee. The law of return goes into place, and that's the Jubilee, the first year of the next 49 years. Shemitah block. I did this for some reason, but I didn't highlight anything. Essene, Lord, wilt thou at this time? I don't know why it is. It looked. I don't know. The ascension. Was there something different about the three ascensions? Lifted up and blessed. He ascended on May 25th. I know that. Ascension Day is Shavuot. It is not Pentecost. It's different. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have made the comment, "I got to go. I got to get out of here. I can't send you the Comforter if I don't leave. I got to go." Not the same date. A lot of people teach that it's the same date, but how could it be? Jesus said, "I got to go. I'm out of here. I will send you the Comforter in a few days, in not many days. Not many days." It matches 84 hours exactly. Exactly. He ascended on a Wednesday, and the Comforter came on a Sunday. Exactly 84 hours later. What time did he ascend on that Sunday? On that Wednesday? He ascended on a Wednesday. Sorry about that. What time? Probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What time did the Comforter come? Probably 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. When, therefore, they came together and asked him, Lord, I don't know why I have done this. I know that there's a lot more, excuse me, a lot more conversation about it in Acts than anywhere else. I'll have to, I took pictures of it because I was going to talk about it. I tried to show you this on this timeline, but it was getting so convoluted. I couldn't even figure it out myself. To add it to this would be difficult, to say the least. But all I can say is the beginning of the 2,000 years from when John the Baptist baptized all the way through to when Jesus died on the cross, which would be 4.5 years in total, because John the Baptist is 6 months older than Jesus, and Jesus died 6 months after John the Baptist died, was beheaded. It's a total of 4.5 years. I don't know what that means to anybody. Oh, I was having a discussion. Who was it with? Oh, Brett from God's Land on Under. We were having this discussion, and I said, "You want me to prove that it's easy to prove that nobody that is saved will go into the tribulation. I know there's some that teach it, and I understand it, but they're seeing it from the perspective of God. Those people are already saved, but from our perspective, they're just not. They're workers. They are lukewarm. They are not interested in this rapture whatsoever. They don't believe you can know. No man knows the day or the hour." They just constantly repeat that. They have no inclination to. It amazes me. You've never studied to try to figure out when he's coming back. But people who have spent just years and years trying to figure it out, you'll tell them, no man knows the day or the hour. Why even try? You haven't studied. How would you know that? Like, how you should, people say, now this is the date that happened. Oh, how many years have you studied that? Well, I haven't. I just heard it, just saw it on Google. Oh, good job. That clears it up for me. What was I thinking? Spending all these years trying to figure out timelines, and you could just Google it and have the answer. And he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. What does that mean? That means that if you accept Christ, you will never hunger and you will never thirst. The second you do, now we're talking, of course, spiritually. We're talking about the rapture. We're talking about salvation right here. This is salvation. As soon as you come to Jesus, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Do saved people go into the tribulation because they just aren't quite good enough yet? No. And here's your answer why. Revelation 7. These are they which came out of great tribulation. Out of, we looked that up. Out of means before. They come out of before the great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. And you continue reading, they shall hunger no more, neither thirst no more. If they were in Christ, they would not have been hungry and thirsty. They were not in Christ. They went into the tribulation thirsty and hungry. The Bible talks about, for the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. They're crying because they were just decimated on this planet during the 7-year tribulation. That's why they're crying. They're not tears of joy. These people are crying because they were decimated. They were thirsty. About 3 days after being thirsty, you die. They were hungry. Some people can go more if you have a little weight on you, like I do. You can last a little bit longer than them skinny people. They shall hunger no more, thirst no more. Right here, like I just showed you, if they had come to Jesus now, if they had come to him now, they would have been raptured because they would not have been able to go into the tribulation hungry and thirsty. Because if you come to Jesus now, I am the bread of life, and he that cometh to me shall never hunger, never. That means these people that went into the tribulation hungered. And what did they hunger for? The word of God. And they began searching. They got a double portion. They began trying to figure it out. They were hungry and thirsty. When they show up in heaven, what are they doing? They are crying. They're scared. They did not know because they went into the tribulation. And believeth on me shall never, never thirst, never hunger, never thirst. Who are these people here that show up in heaven? Now, after the tribulation, they came out of, I can't hardly see that. Hold on. These are they which came out before the great tribulation and have washed their robes. They've washed their robes. Those robes are white. The blood of Christ will whiten a robe up, but they're not the same robe that we get. It is glistening, sparkling, brilliant, absolutely flawless, perfect white robe that can never, never get dirty. We could roll around in the mud and come up clean. We can never get dirty in that robe. It's probably bulletproof, stab proof, everything else. So when we're here during those 1,000 years and somebody tries to kill one of us, they can't harm us. And made them white in the blood of the Lamb. They shall hunger no more. They hungered. They thirsted. They went into the tribulation, not saved. They were not saved. They hungered and thirsted in the tribulation. Because if they were not hungry nor thirsty, if they had salvation, they wouldn't have hungered nor thirsted. They would have been raptured. They went into the tribulation because they were hungry and thirsty, because they lacked, because they were not saved yet. Just like Elijah threw off his own worldly clothes, tore them, rent. He was following right behind Elisha, just following right behind him, and still didn't fully grasp what was going on. But he got a double portion immediately. He got the mantle immediately. He got power immediately. He was saved as soon as he tore his clothes off and dropped to his knees. That's when salvation happens. And I believe that on the day of the rapture, a lot more than just the bride is going to rise out of those graves, because you only get one chance to see Jesus, just like they did for those first 4,000 years. They saw Jesus down there. They would not follow him. Therefore, they stayed, and the rapture occurred. The same thing is going to happen now. They're going to rise out of the graves. They're going to look up. They have one shot. Many of them died of old age, cancer, heart attacks, whatever, kidney failure, you name it, whatever they died from, they were not revived in their full power. God made sure to tell us that Moses was in his full power when he died. That's because he's going to need it for 3.5 years. But these people are going to rise. What do you think they have? People, We're all looking at all these buildings that they're building. Who are they going to put in those buildings? They know what's about to happen. You know who they're putting in those buildings? They were putting in those buildings what we would call zombies. They're not zombies, but that's what we would call them because they're going to rise out of the graves. They're not going to look so good. And they're going to have one shot, one chance to kneel down, their last breath, and it won't last long. Some of them might have been young in a car accident, but they're not being revived in their full strength. They're tore up. They're going to raise up. They're going to witness the rapture, and they're going to pray, please, Lord, save me. Everybody gets a chance to see Jesus, to deny him. Everybody does. The first 4,000 years they did. This 2,000 years they will. And during the 1,000-year millennium, they'll see Jesus every day. He'll be there ruling and reigning. They'll see him every day. And there'll still be some that deny him. Imagine that. I already did all that. Okay. All right. I am done with all that. All right. So I just want to get videos like this out. Honestly, it's for the tribulation saints. Honestly, you guys don't need this. You don't need any of this. This is for the tribulation saints to understand what's going on. You have missed the rapture. You are still here. The rapture has occurred, and you're being convinced that you're done for. That's it. You missed it. There's nothing else. There's a lot of people who teach that. Well, you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell if you miss the rapture. I wouldn't be counting on you being one of the great multitude. That's a lot of people. There's about 100 billion people who have died since 2,000 years ago, not the whole history. 2,000 years ago, 100 billion people. If they all rose up, some of them won't have very long, but they will know. The rumor will be going around Hades. Hey, you better accept Jesus when you see him, because if you don't, you're going to stay here. You're going to die, and then you're going to the lake of fire. Guaranteed that's being taught. The reason I believe that is being taught because the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man was being taught. He was being told, nope, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Nope, that's not how it works. He was learning. He was asking questions, and he was being taught. During this period of time, you stand a 100% chance of going to heaven after you die in this tribulation as a great multitude. You stand a very good chance because there's a number that's going to show up in heaven so great that no man can count. Don't believe the lies from the people who are lying to you right now that you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell if you don't accept Jesus now. That is not accurate. Well, now, yes, but after the tribulation begins, you don't give up. You don't give up. You realize that you were counting on everything that now you have lost. You have lost it all. There's no food. There's no water. Your house is burnt down. Terrible thing. There's 100 billion people that rose out of their graves and are stinking up everything. Probably why 1/3 of the waters go sour, because of all these people that rise up. That's why they're building all of these buildings. They're not building it for us. They're building it for what they know is coming. Satan knows exactly what's coming. Satan knew he was only holding them for a period of time until they could rise up and see what's happening. He hopes that he lied to them well enough their entire lives, 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 100 years ago. He's hoping that he lied to them well enough that when they rise up and see the rapture and they miss it, that they will say to themselves, I missed it. I'm done. And it drives me nuts to watch an actual person on YouTube or anywhere teach the fact that you missed the rapture. Sorry for you. No, we're a very small group of people. We might be 1% to 2%. Very small. 3%. I don't know how many. Actually, in Revelation, it kind of tells us. It literally says 10,000 times 10,000 and myriads of thousands. That's, to me, sounds like somewhere over 100 million, but under 100 million and under 200 million, somewhere around there. So that's not very many people that will be raptured. Not very many at all. And if you look around, who's really looking for it? Who really wants it to happen? Aren't you all alone? Do you know anybody that's I would just die, literally pass out right there if I were walking along and somebody says, man, I've been working on this, trying to figure out this rapture thing for so long. And I would just literally stop in my shoes and be like, Are you kidding me right now? You've been trying to figure that out? You know how many people I tell that I've been trying to figure this out and they divert? Well, what is that? Matthew 6, what is it? Matthew 24:36, I think it is. No man knows the day or the hour. That's the first. They don't know anything about the Bible. Nothing. Never studied it in their lives. But that's the verse they know. That's what Satan did. He's been planting that seed for 2,000 years. Nobody knows the day or the hour. Oh, my goodness. Nobody knew the rapture happened. Oh, well, you failed. You failed, and now you're stuck going to the lake of fire. You might as well join me. Take the mark of the beast. Why not? You go to the lake of fire anyway. There's no lake of the fire. There's no lake of fire. I'm in charge now. You see what I'm saying? Don't fall into that garbage. Yeah, you missed the rapture. You messed up. You did not accept Jesus. You thought that you did something special. And the fear, and to be honest, and that's why we go around. That's why we go around telling everybody, if you see me go, it's very important that you do that. That way they know it's not over with yet. It ain't over yet. You still have time. A great multitude will figure that out after the rapture occurs. A great multitude will know that it's not over for them. And the great lie that comes, it was aliens, it was a nuclear bomb, it was this, it was that. Look at all the people that died. There's so many people. How am I supposed to find your person, the person that disappeared? There's 100 billion people dead in the streets. We got to clean this mess up. That's why they have all those buildings. They know what's coming. They know what's about to happen. The countdown has begun. The countdown began. Remember, Jesus was baptized 40 days before he began his ministry, which was 5 days before his birthday. And if we apply that math to John the Baptist, who came first, which is a picture of the bride coming first. If we apply that math began on Valentine's Day, on Adar 1. That's when that math applies to. Adar 1, Valentine's Day, began the 40 days, and John the Baptist would have baptized his first person on the triumphant entry day of March 26th. So keep watching, keep looking, and to be honest with you, I really believed that we would go before March 16th, March 17th being the Jubilee year, is the year of return. Maybe, and God's not bound by anything, but when he sets a rule, says this, this, and this, he abides by it. He abides by it because he's the one that makes the rules. He set the rules and he abides by the rules that he set. So maybe we cannot go until the Jubilee begins on March 17th. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We're watching just everything going crazy, and we're listening. You're hearing people do their videos, and basically from what I'm seeing, it's almost a goodbye from just about everyone. This is a goodbye. We did our job. We ran the race. We are tired. We're tired. I've been at this for years now. I am tired, and I'm looking forward to this all ending. I don't there's nothing more that I've looked forward to for the past. I mean, it has increased exponentially over the years, obviously, but I've looked forward to the rapture my whole life. But over the last, I think, since the Revelation 12 sign occurred, I think that it woke up a lot of us to say, okay, now we have an Amos 3:7 event. We have a sign in the heavens, and it is telling us that the day is getting close. So for the next 3.5 years, 4 years, because we're counting from when from when John the Baptist began. Over the next 4 years, everything that was 2,000 years will come to a head. And in the year 2030 will be 2,000 years from the cross. And in the year 2033 will be the end of the tribulation, beginning of the 7-year cleanup. And after 2 days and on the third day, that will be when the Jews are revived. They're the ones that clean up. It says it right in the Bible. I showed you the verse. The Jews are the ones that clean it up. They clean everything up. So I don't know if they come over here and clean up or if they just clean up around Israel. I'm not sure how that works. But they do the cleanup. And so the time is upon us. We are there. We finally have arrived. And the closer we got, the more math came out, the more evident it was that we were there. We have arrived. We have made it. We are at the door of this, and the rapture is about to occur. At this point, I'm not here to try to convince anybody. I'm only here to tell you it's not too late. If I can't convince you now, it is not too late. It will happen. It is not too late for you to do the same thing that I did years ago, the same thing that I do all the time. Pray to be counted worthy to escape all these things. Pray that God will save your eternal, immortal soul from the lake of fire. Pray on the blood of Christ to cover you from that terrible, terrible ending, and an ending that you just were not created for. You just were not created for that ending. Satan's trying to pull as many people down there. That's what he did to himself. He's guilty. And then to find out, nope, there's no salvation for you guys. It's only for my blood, only for my DNA, only for my image is there salvation. There is no salvation for those fallen angels, and they're pissed. They're mad, and they're trying to drag as many of us down. And it's as simple as taking a cup. It's that simple. It's the silliest thing, right? But it's everything. Take the cup. He's offered you salvation. He's offered it to all of us. But if you refuse to take that cup, you're going where you were not meant to go. Plain and simple. Humble yourself, kneel down, and accept the blood of the Lamb. It's that simple. All right, YouTube. Repo Man 64. We I'm off tomorrow, which is kind of cool. Um I don't know if I'll do a live tomorrow. I see what's going on. But if something goes nuts, tomorrow is Friday. As you know, they say Fridays are the day to watch. So um we'll see. We shall see. Uh Tomorrow as a sunset in Israel will be Purim. Mathematically, Purim is not on March the 3rd. It is tomorrow, the 28th. It'll begin tomorrow at sunset in Israel on the 27th. That will begin Purim. 30 days later will be the cross. Simple account, February 28th, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 8th. It's March 30th. It's 30 days later. That's the cross. And then on the 15th would be when the Jews left Egypt that evening. That's when Jesus went to Hades to lead captivity captive. So at any rate, the 2,000-year deadline is quickly coming upon us. And like I said, we are located right now within those 40 days since Valentine's of John the Baptist as a mirror of Jesus being baptized. That's a 6-month mirror from when Jesus was baptized back 6 months to February the 14th. Elul 1, Adar 1, Adar 1. Jesus was baptized on Elul 1. February the 14th is Adar 1. Exactly 6 months. So we shall see. We shall see, right? Keep watching. We're there. We're home. Let's talk to you all tomorrow.